This is BYU Sports Nation, brought to you by the BYU Store, simulcast on BYU TV and BYU Radio. Now, from Studio B, here's Spencer Linton and Jarom Jordan.
BYU Sports Nation is live, your day-to-day play-by-play in Studio B, presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. It is Tuesday, January 18th, wherever and however you're connected. Great to have you with us. I am Spencer Linton, teamed up alongside a man specializing in prehistoric interior design, Jarom Jordan.
Now, it's very niche, but I'm just making straight cash.
Absolutely.
No, I'm not. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who was on the 1990 Miami team that lost to BYU, by the way. Mm-hmm. Last night was on the Manning cast for Monday Night Football, a playoff game. ESPN, The Deuce, ESPN 2. He had a massive T-Rex skull in his house. It's like, what is this? And then you realize, oh, he's The Rock. He can do anything. He can just whatever. It was very unique to have and it's like massive, just behind him. It was crazy.
He can buy anything he wants at this point. So he probably bought the biggest T-Rex skull from the most famous museum. He has that type of money.
Well, I wonder if it was a prop from
maybe a movie set,
Jumanji 2 or something. Who knows? But it was probably real. Yeah.
Doesn't he own all of the Smithsonian's in Washington, D.C. at this point?
He does?
I don't know.
Oh, because he's rich?
Yeah.
Oh. I guess those are government-owned, yeah.
Money is no object.
Fun fact. Most of the Smithsonian's close at like 4 or 5.
If you want to get your history in D.C., get there early.
Like in 2012, I'm in D.C. with the company here, getting some training on ENPS, some software we use to time out shows and produce and whatever. And like we finish at like 5 and we go out and like nothing's open. It was rough.
That is rough.
It was rough.
It's time for you to take a trip back to D.C.
So we took a little night bus tour and whatever. It was great. Yeah.
Hey, The Rock, he had the T-Rex skull. We don't have one of those in the studio, but we do have a prehistoric photo of Greg Wrubell from middle school. And you can take that, Dwayne. And as Jarom mentioned, BYU beat Miami in 1990, right?
Yeah, take that, man.
We also have a fantastic show lineup, including NFL wide receiver Dax Milne. It's Jersey week for me, I've decided.
It's Jersey. Well, let me know next time, and I'll join you,
I'm rocking one of the only acceptable shades of red in this studio. It's burgundy. And
I wouldn't call that red at all.
It's burgundy, right?
Yeah, it's not red. It's not red at all.
Fair enough.
It's more brown than red to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm good. I'm in the clear.
Well, yeah, and it's not Utah red. Come on.
How would Dax Milne sum up his rookie season? Again, he'll join us live, plus BYU basketball senior point guard on the women's side, Maria Albiero, on what makes this team so uniquely good, and what's the standard of success for BYU football moving forward after back-to-back 10-plus win seasons. Adjust your blue goggles, people. Bring on today's BYU Sports Nation headlines.
BYU football has the spring football schedule out now, which is this. BYU will practice February 28th through March 25th. Awesome. With Pro Day on that last day on March 25th. Oh, Tyler Algier going to make some money and some other guys.
Man.
Also, Campbell Barrington is a Football Writers Association freshman All-American. Congrats.
Good for Campbell.
Sir Campbell Barrington.
Yeah, how does his brother feel about that?
It's probably like, hey, it's good for him to get an award. It's great.
I kid. No brotherly rivalry there that we know of. BYU men's basketball moves to an 8 seed in Joe Lunardi's latest bracketology. They currently have 5 wins over teams in the projected field. Lunardi still has 4 West Coast Conference teams in his bracket. St. Mary's, San Francisco, both 10 seeds. Gonzaga as a clear number 1 seed. The Cougars will host San Diego Thursday, 9 Eastern. You can watch that live on BYU TV thanks to some COVID rescheduling.
Thanks to CBS Sports Network doing the Gonzaga game. Fred Warner tweeted the following after an ankle injury Sunday and the Niners win against the Cowboys. Sorry for the scare yesterday, everyone. I appreciate everyone showing love and support for me and the fellas. We'll be good to go. Huge win. On to the There you
go, Freddie.
NFL Network's Ian Rappaport says it was a re-aggravation of an earlier right ankle injury. So hopefully we'll see Fred out there this weekend.
BYU women's basketball moves up 1 spot to number 17 in the new Associated Press poll, 1 spot shy of their program best ranking of number 16. The ladies coming off a week in which they won 2 games by an average of 41 points. Cougars travel to Pepperdine on Thursday, 10 Eastern. They'll be a heavy favorite, and they are a 4 seed in Charlie Cream's women's bracketology, which, if that holds, BYU would be hosting the first 2 rounds in the Marriott Center.
Dope. Let's go. Men's volleyball ranked 10th in the ABCA Coaches Bowl, dropping 3 spots. Cougars host number 13, UC Irvine, Friday and Saturday. Friday's on BYU TV. Saturday is on the BYU TV app.
BYU women's tennis and coach Holly Hassler busy over the weekend competing in the Bella the Ball Invitational in Las Vegas. We did not receive an invitation.
Yeah, what the heck?
The Cougars beat number 11 Baylor on Saturday, winning 4 matches to 3, then dropped a head-to-head duel against Illinois 5-2. The team will travel to Washington this week, take on Washington State on Friday, and then the Huskies of Washington on Saturday. All rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending.
You're talking about it, and so are we. It's What's Trending on BYU SportsNation.
What's Trending presented by Bodyguards, protection for a life worth living. Learn more at bodyguards.com. And if you don't know already, you should learn more about BYU football's back-to-back 10-plus win seasons. 11 in 2020, 10 against a upgraded schedule in 2021, and both of those teams finished in the final top 20 of the Associated Press poll. This after BYU had not finished in any AP poll since all the way back in 2009. So
extend Kalani.
And they did.
Again.
Jarom, did BYU overachieve the last 2 seasons? Or have you reached a point where you are now expecting, gulp, 10 wins again next season?
No, that's laughable. No. Winning 10 is special, especially when you're going to play that tough of a schedule, right? It was an overachievement in a good way. A lot of people want to act like an overachievement is some negative thing. No, it means you did better than was expected. It's okay to not expect the world sometimes, okay? Here at BYU, the best and worst thing that ever happened to Cougar football was winning the national championship. The best thing is obvious. You won the national championship. The worst thing is that you think it's still possible. Well, why isn't it because it's 2022 and it's not 1984, right? Getting to a New Year's Six game is the top of the mountain. I think that would be an incredible accomplishment if and when in the future BYU does that as a member of the Big 12. That'd be great. So it was an overachievement. Now, we can quantify this. Bill Connolly, who's like, if you think I'm nerdy, this guy's nerdy. Love Bill. He says biggest positive difference between win total and second order wins. Basically, like he said, post-game expectancy, and then he has some metric that I don't even understand. Anyway, he's saying who overachieved. He had BYU at 9th at plus 1.9. Remember how I felt like, it was probably 2 games. He says 1.9. That's spot on to what I was saying. He said he was expecting BYU to be, 10 and, BYU finished 10-2, was projected to be 8-1. 8.1 wins.
So 8-4.
Plus 2, which is plus 1.9, which is great. It was awesome. Again, BYU overachieved by doing some things that were better than we thought. Jaron Hall was better than we thought. Tyler Algier was incredible. BYU took care of the ball defensively, got some takeaways, didn't turn it over a ton. It helped that the Pac-12 wasn't super great, right? All these things played into where BYU had an open door to walk through for 10 wins. The door was open for 11. BYU didn't walk through it in the bowl game, unfortunately, with UAB and banged up and blah, blah, blah. It was awesome, man. BYU overachieved. Now, I do not expect to win 10 games again next year. I would love 9. I think 9 is a nice number right
Does
there.
that include a bowl game win? Or are we talking regular season only?
Yeah, I guess we don't know what bowl game. So regular season, I think 9-3 would be pretty good. Yeah,
9-3 would be fantastic in the regular season.
Yeah,
and a shot at 10 wins with a bowl game?
I don't need BYU to win 10 every year. I need BYU to win 10, once out of every 4 years. But I do need BYU to make a bowl game every year. And if you don't make a bowl game, that you rise from the ashes. Now, do we feel like BYU had to have 2017 4-9 to get 2020 and 21? Sometimes that's the case. It isn't always the case. But sometimes a forest needs to be burned down by lightning to regenerate itself. That's nature's reset button, right? I'm not talking where someone actually starts a forest fire. That's illegal and terrible. I'm talking when lightning strikes in a forest and it burns it down, it resets the cycle of that space, and now it becomes even better than maybe it was before. Did that happen from 2017 with 20 and 21? I'm not sure, but let's be honest. In 2019, BYU's 2-4 and staring down the barrel of maybe no Kalani talking, maybe pushing the reset button. Boom. Aaron Roderick starts calling the plays, and BYU takes off, man.
Here's why I believe BYU will win 10 games next year.
Oh, snap.
And I'm including a bowl game here. I think BYU will win whatever bowl game they go to, assuming that they're not the walking wounded and they don't have to be relegated to play in the Independence Bowl, which they are not slated to play in next season.
I was going to say, BYU's lost 2 or 3 bowl games.
They're a bowl game free agent, according to ESPN, this upcoming season.
BYU's lost 2 G5 opponent bowl games of the last 3. So, it's no guarantee that you win that game,
Here's why I think BYU will win 10 games. You look at the schedule and you say, whoa, it is absolutely loaded. After the game at South Florida, which BYU will be an obvious favorite to win in Tampa, even though BYU as a team has not been great in the state of Florida. They got rid of that curse with the Boca Raton Bowl.
You just got to play crappier teams.
Okay. South Florida, not great. But then BYU takes on the likes of Oregon and Arkansas and later Notre Dame. And it's like,
Baylor.
Oh, man. Yeah, Baylor.
Baylor at home.
Baylor's going to be a very different team. They are uber talented, but they will lose the gist of that uber talent to the NFL. Rightfully so. Those guys have earned it. They won the Sugar Bowl. They won the Big 12. A lot of those guys are going to leave the program, and Baylor has to come to Provo. So I like BYU's chances in that game in their home digs. Oregon has a brand new head coach, and they're dealing with some transition. That has typically fared well for BYU in the past. So I don't think going to Autzen Stadium and playing against Oregon is out of the realm of possibilities of BYU winning that game. Arkansas is in some trouble. There's some scandal surrounding that program now after some recent revelations on social media.
That's every SEC team every year.
Are they going to be dealing with a scenario where a bunch of players are suspended? The coaching staff, recruiting is messed up, scholarships are taken away. Who knows?
It's like game 7. They'll be all right.
And they've got to come to Provo. SEC teams typically don't have to travel this far. They're coming to Provo. Notre Dame is a unique challenge in Las Vegas. That's going to be an amazing game. Notre Dame's going to be really good again.
Yeah. Notre Dame's always good. And this isn't a New Year's Six game, so they have a chance to win.
Shots fired.
They're terrible in that. I would love to be Notre Dame, don't get me wrong, and go to New Year's Six games. I'm not saying BYU's better than Notre Dame. BYU's not. I wish BYU was Notre Dame.
I look at the 5th Power 5 game that BYU plays next year at Stanford. Stanford is not in a great place right now. It's going to take a while for that program to build back up and become what they hope were once in the Pac-12.
BYU played a couple of those kind of games this last year.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. BYU's been there. They have experienced this. They bring back a ton of talent and experience on the offensive side of the ball. We hope that they will be much more healthy on the defensive side of the ball and bring back that experience. So, Jarom, just based on the continuity of what BYU has at the core, on offense especially, and then defense getting healthier, you extend your coach. You've been through a gauntlet Power 5 schedule. You won 10 games, so the belief is there. The culture and the belief are there.
It's there.
So I feel like you say 9-3, it's like, wow, 9-3 against that schedule? Yes.
That'd be nice.
9-3 is going to happen against that schedule. And it might be 10 wins. It might be 10 because
that's a really high
end, is in a unique position that I just presented. So, strangely, I am expecting 10 wins if you throw in the bowl game. I think BYU is going to win their bowl game, that they'll have an opportunity to do so as a free agent. But 10 wins, 10-3, including a bowl game, is definitely not out of the realm of possibility. BYU is a good, experienced team that brings back a veteran, really talented quarterback. That is worth a lot.
Yes. Not having Tyler Algier also worth not a lot, which is rough. So BYU's got to replace that. That's a huge, the biggest question mark. Yeah. That'd be awesome, man.
Is it Christopher Brooks?
I'd take.
Is he a 1,000-yard rusher?
Is it Chris Brooks or is it Christopher Brooks? That's the question we'll debate coming up. Yeah, listen, 9-3 plus. Oh, that'd be great.
Our question of the day. We want you to answer what I just asked Jarom. Did BYU overachieve the last 2 seasons, or do you expect 10 wins again next season?
10 again.
It's crazy.
Expect is different than hope. Expect is this needs to happen, or that wasn't enough. You know what I mean? That's to me what expect is. And it's expect is probably A+.
There's a real possibility that BYU could do it again.
Oh, totally.
They could do it again?
Yes. BYU just needs one of the keys is BYU needs some of these good teams to not be as good. That's part of the deal. Like, if all those teams are as good as they were last year, BYU's going 2-2 or 1-2.
And that's why I just lined
In
up
those
why
four,
I
big four.
don't believe those teams will be as good as they were last
The
year.
sad reality is, in order for BYU to get a real big win, especially on the road, is that team can't be as good as we thought probably, and BYU's got to be better. That's the reality. Like, BYU beating Utah at home, number 12, that was the fourth best win by final AP rank ever. Like, that was a massive win. You know what I mean?
BYU had some really nice wins in 2021.
Well, that one was the best. That's what I'm saying. That's
sure.
Top of the man. The rest of those teams aren't top 25 or anything, you know?
Let's hear, Utah State is top 25, right?
Besides Utah State. Yeah, I'm talking about the Power 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's hear from you, BYUSN and voice of the nation.
This is the voice of the nation on BYU Sports Nation.
Jake Welch adds this on Twitter, calling it a mild take. The 2022 version of BYU football could be the best of the last 3 years.
Yeah.
But with a tougher schedule, the record will be worse.
Like, let's say Baylor, Oregon, and Notre Dame all finish top 25. Realistically, we're hoping for one win out of those three. If they're actually all top 25.
But listen, Oregon can finish top 25 and not be worthy of top 25. We've learned this.
That's exactly right. Well, if they win at top 5 somebody early, that's the Ohio State win carried a ton of weight. And it should. They won the Rose Bowl. Like, that was a great win. But then Utah blew them out. Coming up, is it enough for BYU Hoops to win this week?
And former BYU football star, a man who rose from the ashes and was overlooked, no longer overlooked, Washington football team receiver Dax Milne joins the program. This is BYU Sports Nation. We're recapping rookies again.
Yeah.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Bodyguards. Protection for a life worth living.
Welcome to a partnership where customer experience comes first. It's our focus. It's your expectation. We provide support to those that go the extra mile for all of us. Supplying products, training, and service for generations. Learn more at bradyindustries.com.
Dexter & Dexter is a full-service law firm offering a wide range of legal services. Since 1995, we have helped more than 20,000 Utahns both to navigate life's challenges and to make the most of life's opportunities. From accidents to wills, from bankruptcy to business law, we are passionate about shouldering your burdens. To learn more about scheduling a no-obligation consultation, visit dexterlaw.com.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
Join us tonight for BYU basketball with Mark Pope as we recap the big win at San Francisco, ignore the Gonzaga game, and get a double dose of Foose in the film room and his deep blue as we explore his story as a Muslim at BYU thousands of miles away from home in Mali, but still feeling at home in Pro.
Can't miss television and radio, media in general. We are live in Studio B with your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. I'm Spencer Linton alongside Jarom Jordan. It is time that we welcome in our first guest. And yes, the reason that I am rocking the number 15 Washington football team jersey today, his name is Dax Milne, second to last pick in the NFL draft, but you better believe he made that roster. Dax, great to talk to you, man. Congratulations on making your way through the rookie season.
Appreciate it. It means a lot.
Hair's looking good, bro. Did you use a little extra product this morning? It's looking nice, dude.
Hey, it does what it wants.
Let's talk about your rookie season. Now that you've had some time to kind of reflect on it, how do you feel like you grew the most as an NFL player from day one in camp to where you are now?
Man, good question. Coming out of college, you kind of feel like you know a lot, or kind of everything about football, and then day one hits, training camp, and you realize, wow, I know nothing. So I think I just took huge steps as far as just knowledge of the game, how to be a professional on and off the field, and then I was able to learn from one of the top receivers in the league, Terry McLaurin. So little techniques he does, and it was a great experience overall.
Was learning the playbook for Washington harder than any class you took at BYU?
Let me tell you. Oh, yes. Some classes at BYU are tough, but dang, I found myself studying 2 hours a night, during those training camp days, and then and then it's just a test the next day. You got to recall it like that. It was insane.
Give me a sense of like how many plays you'd have to memorize and how many variations off of things.
Let's see. Each day, when we didn't have a new install, I'd say we'd have to memorize, 10 new formations, and then 5 to 10 new runs, and then 5 to 10 new pass plays. And then you got to be able to be in different positions. At least for me, I had to play inside and outside. So it was tough. I can't lie.
And is that like every week on Tuesday and Wednesday? Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah. And then during the real season, every Wednesday we'd come back and, start talking about our installs for the next opponent and talk about what they do. But during the season, it was a lot easier just because we already knew everything, and it was just small adjustments here and there when he put stuff in. So
the well-studied Dax Milne is with us on BYU Sports Nation. I hope you have a break from the playbook for at least a little while to give your mind some time to reset. Dax, you shared with me offline the story of how you found out you made the 53-man roster, and it's fantastic. And so if you wouldn't mind, I would love for you to tell all of BYU Sports Nation how you found out that you were part of the Washington football team.
Sure. So yeah, as you guys could imagine, it was a very, suspenseful. I was nervous. So I was expecting a call or someone to tell me to come in the office, and didn't receive anything of that kind. And so I just assumed to just show up at the meeting that we had scheduled. And, I'm sitting there in the meeting, and Coach Rivera gets up and he starts talking, kind of just like a normal day. And then he said the words, "Well, this is it, boys. This is our 53. This is what we're going to start with." And, there's a ton of guys in the room that just, of course, are on the 53. But for me, I was trying to just keep it cool, like just looking around, I wanted to just stand up and scream, like, "Let's go," So I kept it cool until after the meeting, and I was able to just, text some friends and family, like, "Hey, made the 53. So it was a fun day for me.
Was it hard to keep it all in right there? Because you're surrounded by all these pros, and you don't want to be the rookie that's like, making a scene or whatever. Was it hard to just keep it all in?
Right. Yes, absolutely. I could not. I was for sure smiling. I don't know who was looking at me, but I was for sure smiling.
I love that story. Okay, well, now you're no longer a rookie. You push into year 2. So how have your expectations shifted for what you are going to do and what you're capable of accomplishing with Washington?
Yeah, I've had some good talks with Coach Rivera and my wide receivers coach. I'm hoping to, for sure, just take a big step in as far as my role. There was multiple times that Coach kind of pulled me aside and said, "You're going to get your opportunity. We believe in you. We think you have a very bright future. But just right now, we just want you to learn and kind of take everything in behind these guys that we have now. And so that's what I did. And wholeheartedly, I believe I can come back and have a major role and do well with it.
Was there a point in the season where you felt like, hey, I fit in here, like I'm totally good enough? Or maybe you felt that before you even got to Washington. Who knows?
No, yeah, good question. For me, I got to be honest, going in training camp and I guess the first couple weeks of everything starting, I kind of just didn't feel like I belonged. I don't know what that was due to, just being the rookie and just everything being new. And then it wasn't until, first couple of weeks of actually playing in a game, and I realized, like, man, they all put on cleats too. Like, it's not that much different. Like, I can play with these dudes and I can perform. So I think once my mindset about that changed, I just had a lot more confidence.
So we talked to your good friend Zach Wilson a few days ago about the experience he felt was most like, whoa. And one of those moments, understandably, was watching on the other sideline Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski compete against him when he's half of Tom Brady's age as the other starting quarterback. Dax, what moment was that for you where you were just like, whoa, here we are, and these are guys I grew up watching, and now I'm playing against them?
Yeah. Well, for starters, when I saw Tom myself, he just had a glow on around him. Yeah, that was me. But yeah, I remember, I always loved to just, when our defense was on the field, I loved to just have a front row seat at the top receivers that we were playing. And I remember seeing guys like Keenan Allen and Stephon Diggs, the guys that I always watch, videos of and try to learn from. They were just right there in person. And I even made eye contact with Stephon Diggs as he made a catch and he jogged back. And I was like, yeah, this is crazy.
You're getting paid to be there, though, which is pretty cool. The rest of us have to pay to just watch. Yeah. So before the game or after the game, are you trying to play it cool and walk up to some of these guys and talk to them? To have that experience, because you belong, you're on the team, but you're also like the rookie and you don't want to like impose where you're not supposed to or whatever, right?
Yeah, no. Me personally, I decided to take the back road and I'm gonna wait until I, a little bit bigger name so I can say what's up to these top dogs. If I knew someone on the other team, I'd for sure go say hi, but maybe next year I'll go talk to big guys.
And you played against a bunch of former BYU guys, several of which were your teammates, and you took pictures and swapped jerseys, I think, with Brady Christensen and whatnot. So what was it like to see those guys and compete in the NFL where it's like, hey, we made it. This is cool.
Yeah, it was so cool seeing Brady and Harvey Longy in the preseason.
As a Bingham guy.
Talking after the game. Yeah, and as a Bingham guy too. Talking after the game, just kind of looking around with each other, just saying, man, like, who would have thought, starting that 2020 season that, we'd be here talking in North Carolina. And it was fun just to congratulate each other and wish each other the best. But he did great.
Dax Milne, second-year receiver now for the Washington football team, with us on BYU Sports Nation. And Dax, maybe you've already shared with us your favorite moment from your rookie season, but in a game scenario, if you had to pick a favorite play or a favorite moment, what would it be from year one?
Let's see. Favorite moment for me was at Lambeau Field, just because it's such a cool atmosphere. The fans get so into it. Seeing Aaron Rodgers and all those other guys, that was a moment where I kind of decided to just sit back and take it in for a sec. And then favorite play for me, got to be my toe drag. I don't know.
Yeah,
pretty good.
I feel, finally got a pass and I did a little toe drag, something light. I don't know.
I love it.
Okay, with Lambeau Field, did you like hit the squats a little harder that week just in case there were some Washington fans maybe tucked in the corner and you caught a touchdown pass and maybe had the chance, right?
It crossed the mind. I can't even lie to you. It crossed the mind.
It had to, right? That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Was there a moment where you were like caught up to the speed of the game? Everyone talks about, it's so much faster. Was there a moment where you were like, okay, I understand the speed, I can hang with this speed, or is that still a work in progress?
Nah, the speed for me, the speed of it kind of didn't change much from college. Like everyone's fast. I think it's just as far as reading, when defenses read what you're doing, they do that a lot faster. So it didn't take me too long to kind of adjust to what the NFL was like as far as speed.
Dax, one of your close friends at BYU decided to come back for another year, Gunnar Romney. He obviously has NFL aspirations. What advice would you give to him as he takes on one more year in Provo and then wants to make the transition into the National Football League?
Yeah, I think Gunnar's going to have a solid year. I know I tell him, and I will tell him, just to have fun with it. Playing at BYU is something special, and he knows that. But yeah, just to have fun with it. Try to help these younger guys as much as you can, and just focus on getting better. He has a great coach, Kalani and Fessy, and I'm sure he'll take big steps into his future. So.
Dax, great to talk to you. I want you to know I don't fanboy often, but for my guy, I was rocking the number 15 Washington football team jersey today, right?
I love it.
Let's go, man. I got you. I got you.
I love it.
Dax, thanks for hanging out, brother. Enjoy some time off, and we'll get on the link soon.
Let's do it. Appreciate you guys.
Dax Milne, second-year receiver, Washington football team with us on BYU SportsNation.
So cool that so we've talked about this. Like when someone leaves early from BYU, we want them to be super successful to almost validate why they left. They can leave for whatever reason they want. Like, but as fans or whatever, you feel like when Eric Mika left, it was like, oh, he wasn't even drafted. What was the point of that? You know what I mean? Like, I get it, but he's leaving for his reasons, and he's been successful. Dax Milne goes and makes the 53s in the league, right? Like he whether that matters to you or not, like he made that. Now the dude's making like 800 G's, so it's working out.
Well deserved. That dude has worked so hard. Yes. Walk on at BYU.
He was? I'm just kidding.
Now he's in the NFL.
That's awesome, man. He's crushing it.
Underappreciate this.
Yeah. Well, still fighting, right? Still fighting. Coming up, hoops guard Maria Albiero. The Cougars' incredible season so far. Vamos lá.
And is BYU football being discredited in a 2022 ranking? Scoff. We'll discuss. This is BYU Sports Nation.
Get riled up on January 18th.
Trio Orem Senior Living believes in empowering seniors to live life to the fullest. We help eliminate stress out of daily life when you live at Trio. Less time focusing on housework means you can socialize at one of our many events, with safety in mind, of course. And did we mention our spacious apartments with modern amenities? Learn more about setting up a private tour at trioorem.com.
BYU Food to Go's convenient location at 2191 North Canyon Road in Provo makes bringing popular BYU foods to your next event easy. Everything's ready when you need it at the drive and load pickup. You drive in and they load no matter the weather. And stop in the on-site creamery for great BYU chocolate milk and ice cream. BYU Food to Go, bringing campus to your table. Call for details, 801-422-5001.
Luxurious blanket. Getting cozy with family and friends. A gift for everyone. Minky Couture, official luxury blanket of BYU Athletics.
I don't think I've ever turned on anything from BYU TV and not found myself smiling.
I think it's just really inspiring, just seeing people help one another.
It helps me show my kids good examples of the way that we should live.
I really like Studio C because we can all laugh together.
It's actually something that makes us reconnect and brings us closer to our family.
I love BYU TV.
BYU Sports Nation is brought to you by Maersk, enabling global trade for a growing world.
Join us Thursday for a matchup of second-place West Coast Conference teams as the men's basketball team of San Diego. Canada tip-off 8:30 Eastern on BYU TV. And there is the picture of Greg Wrubell on the set. He's like 12 years old wearing his grandma's glasses. It's fantastic. That's not Dwight Schrute. That's Greg Wrubell.
Is Jarom. I'm Spencer. This is BYU Sports Nation. We love Greg so much. To interact with the show and get great content throughout the day, follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Let's whip it! Cougar Whip Around presented by Maersk, your integrated container logistics company, enabling global trade for a growing world.
The Athletic ranks BYU the third best group of 5 team going into the next football season behind Cincinnati and Houston. Is this an insult?
It shouldn't be, but I kind of take it as an insult. Not so much third behind those teams because those are two really good programs. It's about BYU being kind of in that group of 5 category. I feel like BYU's in a unique category. They're not a group of 5 and they're not Power 5.
They'll just be off the list.
Yeah, so just keep them off the list.
There's not a group of 5 team. It's not an insult. I just think it's naive.
Yeah. Okay. On the BYU basketball beat, Jarom, they're 2 spots out of the top 25.
Yeah.
But their metrics in the Ken Palm, the net rankings, bracketology, all pretty good. So this week, with 2 teams they should beat up on, San Diego and Portland on the schedule, is it enough for BYU to just win this week against USD and Portland?
No, you got to win convincingly. San Diego is improved for sure. They've won 6 of the last 8, but 94% win chance and 97 against Portland, according to Ken Palm. 17 and 21 margins. Yeah, no, win by 15 plus.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Win by 15 plus.
Yeah.
Win convincingly. Whatever you think convincingly is. And we think
6 isn't convincing. 9 isn't
at
convincing.
Least double figures, right?
At
least double figures.
Teams are bad, though. Let's go. Which method do you prefer, the grind them out close games from the men's hoops team or the win by 40 mentality of the women's? Because you have a choice how you win.
I can tell you that my heart and my indigestion certainly prefer the BYU women's version of ending things early in the game and coasting to victory. But, man, the excitement of the grind them out close
going
games.
Down 10.
BYU wins at San Francisco. That is a really fun dynamic. It's fun, but it's really hard on your emotions and your stress. So I'd probably lean towards nice, easy wins primarily.
Yeah, I guess we just have to care less, you know.
That's hard to do.
Right. If you're feeling too much emotion, perhaps consider caring less.
It's hard to do.
It's very hard.
When we host this show.
That's what my wife says sometimes. She's like, why do you care so much about that? I'm like, good point.
We host the daily BYU show, Whitney.
Coming up. Top 5 shooters to ever shoot at BYU.
And the super senior Maria Albiero of number 17 ranked BYU women's basketball. Why is this team different and special and succeeding like never before? Stay with us.
If I got hurt and was laid up at home, I wouldn't even think to call a lawyer. What a hassle. I'd want to meet them first.
What if I told you that for your first consultation, your lawyer will come to you, home or hospital?
Really?
Really.
They do that?
If you've been seriously injured, we'll come to you. It's your job to get better. It's our job to deal with the insurance companies and protect your legal rights.
Learn more at siegfriedandjensen.com. And BYU made such a difference in our lives. I think really helped mold us as to who we are. And so when we had that opportunity and came back to Boise and found out there was an active chapter, we thought, okay, that's something that I can really get behind and get involved in.
We want to promote the BYU experience all over the region. We want people who leave BYU to still stay connected.
This veterinarian is healing pets and healing hearts, one story at a time. Dr. Kwan is on a mission to give back by helping the pets of the homeless. He travels around the country to aid anyone in need. But these pets aren't just animals. They're best friends, family members, and a source of comfort to their owners. Watch to see inspiring stories of resilience, friendship, and love, all on Street Vet on BYU TV or on the free app.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
On the newest Deep Blue podcast, I talk with Olympic gymnast and silver medalist Guard Young about his family legacy at BYU, coping with the end of the men's program, his time at Oklahoma, and leading the women's team now. Listen to it on the BYU Radio app and where podcasts are found.
Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation. We are live in Studio B with your day-to-day BYU sports play-by-play. Joining us now live in the Studio Bizzle is BYU women's basketball senior point guard Maria Albiero. We could not be more thrilled to have her.
A brasileira!
Yes. Maria, welcome to the studio. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Awesome. I don't know that we've ever had a Brazilian in studio. Have we? Are you our first Brazilian, maybe?
You would probably know that,
in like
right?
8 or 9 years? This is a...
Didn't you guys have the volleyball guy, Felipe?
We had Felipe. Okay, Brazilian woman. How about that?
Oh, I like
You're
that.
the first. There you go.
History over here.
Felipe Gibrito Ferreira. Yeah, I had to say his name natively when I called. Not everyone, you do that, you know? So are you okay if people are like Maria Albiero as opposed to Maria Albiero?
I mean, yeah, I'm okay. Most people can't say it, so you just got to smile.
Like if we have a Korean athlete, you're gonna have to say it, you know, as you would in Korean, right?
Well, so the last name comes first in Korean, so you have to go kind of with the English understanding. Like a pitcher for the Dodgers, Chan-ho Park. In Korean, he would be Pak Chan-ho. So you just can't do it. You have to go with the English.
Well, I mean the pronunciation, not like the order per se. I'm talking like how you say it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm doing my best, Maria.
I love it.
Your best
I'm
is
content.
good. Your best is good enough.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yes.
So you've been here with us a while. It's about time we had you in studio.
It's been a minute. 5 years, in fact.
What are you guys doing? Okay.
5 years.
What took so long?
Yet here we are in the midst of a very special season for BYU women's basketball. You're ranked number 17. I mean, this team has done all sorts of firsts under Jeff Judkins and in program history. So what's the best part about this team, and what makes this team unique and special?
That's a good question. Best part about it, I just say these people are my family. To me, like selfishly, obviously basketball is what we're here for, but I love these people. I love going to practice. I genuinely do. It's a highlight of my day. I have fun. We work on our stuff. And I think why we're so special is because truly everyone is on the same page. Everybody has embraced their role, and they thrive with it. And everybody wants to win every single day. It makes it easy.
How do you get to that point? Because every business, every young men, young women's group in the church, every team is seeking that. Mm-hmm. So how do you get to that point? Like, what did it take?
I think some of it is experience. I've been here for 5 years, and when I was a freshman, I'd like to tell you that I was just like this, but I wasn't. It takes some time. I think it helps that we have 4 people like that on our team. I'm going to say probably more than that, obviously.
Like the super seniors?
The seniors, and then obviously Shay, Lauren, Kaylee. These girls have been around, too, and have done a lot. I think experience, I think that helps a lot. Just the day-to-day grind. It's easy to look ahead and be like, hey, we're really good. But when you have people that are willing to look on a day-to-day and do the little stuff, it makes it different. It causes that. So.
And a certain amount of sort of sacrifice, because you have to buy into this team concept. The men's team says, we have the best locker room in America. But every year when there's a turnover of about half the roster, it's hard to actually execute that, right? So do you guys ever have a chat about like, hey, you need to buy into the team? There's certain things you need to give up in order for this to succeed as the greater whole. Is that a conversation you have?
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a open conversation like that we sit down and talk about it, but everybody knows. Like it's in the air. Like we know.
It's in the air.
That's a saying in Portuguese.
Yeah.
People don't say that here.
No.
It's just, and I think our coaches do a good job. I think, especially for me, like my role has changed a little bit every single year. And I didn't love it initially. Like I came here as a freshman, like every other freshman, thinking I was gonna be Shaylee, but I'm not. And like, and that's just not what it is. So once you learn to embrace it and be happy about it, it's contagious. Everybody does it. So I think our coaches do a good job, and I think we try our best to buy into it and show every day that we're okay with it. Because then you feel that you're valid and important. So there's definitely like an unspoken, everybody knows.
It's in the air.
Yeah,
I'm going to use
it's
that
in the
one.
air.
I like that.
Yeah, you two talk about in the air, and now I'm just thinking about the Phil Collins song that's playing over and over my head.
That's
It's
one of
in
my
the air tonight.
That is, there's a cover that played on Cobra Kai season 3 at the very end that I play like every week. It's so good. It's so good.
Maria Albiero is with us on
Nice.
BYU Sports Nation, the senior point guard out of Brazil. Speaking of in the air, right now the feelings are good around the national rankings. You're number 17. How do you handle the dynamic of being a top 20 team? Because there's some pressure associated with that. So how do you handle it?
I think there are a couple of things about it. I think it's the first time that we're like this big. So to an extent, I still feel a little bit like we're the underdog, that people don't really know that much about us. It's like they're lucky to be there. No, we're actually really good. So there's a little bit of that. And I think the other part is just like, at the end of the day, we're all competitive. Like, I love that stuff. Sure, make us the target. Like, if we learn to do that every day and beat those teams and make statements like we've been doing in conference, that's good.
Sure.
Like,
You see Oklahoma now at number 14, the one team that has beaten you. How do you handle the emotions of that, knowing that you were in position to win that
100%.
game at their arena?
100%. Well, you're going to lose some games. We even talked about it. It's better now than later when it matters even more. But that just says, like, we lost to a team in overtime that just beat Baylor. So that, to me, it just makes me happy. Great for them. Like, they're a good team. So are we. We could have won. They beat Baylor. It could have been us. So, like, that's how I feel.
It's validating, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you beat LMU by 40. Do you get bored in that game?
Nope. Yes.
As you're shaking your head up and down.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't get bored.
It's a good problem, right? You guys just
It's a
blew
good
them out,
problem,
and then you empty the bench, and you can root for your teammates, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's funny because Paisley and I had a conversation about that. We're like, dang, like it's our 5th year. We want to play 40 minutes a game. But then if you sit back, there are a couple of things. One, we need that for our net. It is what it is. The more we beat teams by, the better it is. And then it's important for the freshmen, the younger kids.
Yeah.
Like, it's important for them to play right now and get the feel and feel comfortable for next year and for when it matters this year. So
I was just going to ask you, how do you stay engaged in those moments? And it feels like, from my perspective, the engagement comes from rooting on the younger players that are now receiving additional experience.
yeah, it's like that's definitely hard. Like, it's hard because you guys see stuff on social media, like we're playing around all the time, but man, we really want to win, and we know it takes, even against teams like that or games like that, we know it takes engagement. We know it takes focus the whole time from all of us. So we know it takes that. So we do our best to do it, and it comes from cheering. And we're happy to see the girls succeed. Like, I love our freshmen. So
Where does being Brazilian and sort of this natural flair for life, because Brazilians are awesome. I loved Brazil living there.
I love how you
and
just described that.
I love that. Like, there's a certain zest there, right? I don't even know how to say zest in Portuguese. Do you know?
I don't really know what that means.
Yeah, it's like a like a certain spice, a certain enthusiasm, right?
Okay.
Where does that come out in your style of basketball?
Oh, I've never thought about that. I mean, my teammates, especially Tegan, always says that I'm very expressive, like with my hands, with my face, like my expressions on the court. So I think there's a little bit of that. Like, it's something. It's just like you can see a lot in my face. That's just kind of what it's like. I think, I don't know. I sometimes like I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I'm just happy to be there. I'm just running doing some samba here and there.
Love that.
Speaking some Portuguese.
Speaking some Portuguese. I love that.
You break team huddles by saying Final Four.
You do? That's cool.
Yeah, we do it in practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the psychology behind that. Why Final Four?
I think it's just a reminder that, hey, we can do it. And we do that because everybody believes it and we want to get out of here doing something really good. And it's just, I think it's just like, hey, like, don't forget about it. But there's more behind it. Like, we do the Final Four, but we also do things like, we say, put in work, we like family,
Sure,
whatever
sure.
we do. So it's really more like, I love that we say Final Four, but I think that there's just more behind it. It's just more the action and the process, not the outcome. But everybody knows that, which is why it's fine. Like, it's the process. It's what you do that day to get there.
Yeah.
And we're all really aware of it. We're not just saying Final Four. Like, it's possible. We know it's hard. But it's a reminder. It's just like, hey.
Yeah. I like that. Not that Google Translate is everything, but it just translates to like enthusiasm or enthusiasmo.
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Maria, great to have you in Studio B.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations on the success thus far. We look forward to an incredible rest of the season. Let's give you some BYU Sports Nation karma for the games this week.
Good luck.
Take care of business. You can go share the karma with your friends, whatever.
No. Just keep
it all
You're good.
yourself.
Just keep it. You're good. You're good.
They've got enough. It's all good. Thanks, Maria.
Thanks,
Thank you. Obrigada.
Obrigado. Coming up, today's Rise and Shoutouts.
Plus, the top 5 shooters in BYU men's basketball history. Does Alex Barcelo crack the top 5? Hey, Maria's a really good shooter.
Shooting 41% from 3 right now.
Exactly. This is BYU Sports Nation.
Portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Delta Airlines. Keep climbing.
Hi, Spencer Linton here, letting you know when your company joins the BYU team as a corporate partner, your brand can be featured in sports programming on BYU TV and BYU Radio. In addition to all of the great games, you can be part of the BYU coaches shows, place your message in Countdown to Kickoff, basketball pre- and post-game shows, and each weekday on BYU Sports Nation. We invite your team to join ours and become a corporate sponsor of BYU Athletics. For details, email sponsorship@byu.edu today.
Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork offers a large inventory of Ford vehicles, including a selection of cars and trucks, providing a range of transportation choices. From the Ford Fusion sedan and the Edge crossover SUV to a range of pickups including the F-150. Each product line comes with options to enhance performance, comfort, and safety. Think Ford, think Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork.
I'm Kieran Stone, and I'm a contractor. We find communities in need and work with them to forge better futures.
You know, it just starts with, hammering one thing, and then by the end of the week, you're like, wow, you can see how much of a difference it's going to make.
These projects save lives, create lives, and boost lives.
I'm hoping that this show inspires people to go out, get involved, and do something, that's for humanity.
Every day, I help an animal walk again.
I believe that having special needs animals has brought an extra layer of richness to the fabric of our family.
Not many people take in these special needs guys, but in the end, they're the best ones.
It's unbelievable. It's like his disability has disappeared.
Every step just proves to me that these dogs can get through anything.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics.
BYU Sports Station, always available on demand via the BYU TV and BYU Radio apps.
Download the pod, Google BYU Sports Station podcast, subscribe, rate, review.
How about some Top 5 Tuesday presented by Delta Airlines? Keep climbing. After Jay Billis of ESPN called Alex Barcelo the best shooter in the country over the weekend, we decided to take a look back at the top 5 shooters in BYU men's basketball history.
Open the door to subjectivity. Number 5, Andy Toulson. Shot 43.7% from 3, fourth in school history. 49% from three his senior year was the highest single-season mark with a minimum of 70 makes back in 89-90. 12th in the record books with career three-pointers made. Played 60 games in the NBA for the Jazz. Former BYU TV analyst.
Number 4, BYU's all-time leading scorer, Tyler Haws. 2,720 career points, averaged 19.6 a game, second in career field goal makes, first in attempts, ninth in both career three-point makes and attempts. He holds the record for most consecutive free throws made at 50, 74 career 20-point games, the most in program history.
He's a top 25 scorer in NCAA history. Fun fact. Number 3, best shooter in the country this year, according to Jay Billis, Alex Barcelo. On pace to shatter the BYU three-point percentage record, shooting 48%, 2.4% better than second place.
That's crazy.
Also on pace for the highest career effective field goal percentage in BYU history. Set a record last year, 7 for 7 in threes against San Francisco. Currently 3 of the top 10 best three-point shooting seasons in BYU history. The Pope era is the Barcelo era, by the way.
Number 2, the legendary Danny Ainge. Third on the all-time scoring list, second in points, 20.9 per game. He did so without a three-point line, by the way. Most field goals made in BYU history with 987. Hit the biggest shot in program history. Sent BYU to their only Elite 8.
There it is.
Won the Wooden Award in 1981, then drafted 31st overall by the Boston Celtics. He won 2 NBA championships. Again, to do this without a three-point line is wild.
Only reason he's drafted 31st is because they were afraid he wouldn't, do the MLB thing with it. Otherwise, he would have been way higher.
Yeah.
Number 1, Jimmer Fredette. Second in career points. BYU holds the program record in three-point field goals made and attempted. Average almost 29 a game his senior year. Jimmer Mania. He's a legend. He's got a dance move. It's amazing. 52 points against New Mexico in this game. Incredible. Won the Naismith. Drafted 10th overall.
Whenever you're feeling blue, just go ahead and pull up some Jimmer Fredette BYU highlights on YouTube.
I'm always feeling blue, man. Bring 'em.
So amazing. Our question of the day, as we cap our top 5 shooters in BYU men's basketball history and push it back again to BYU football. Did Cougar football overachieve the last 2 seasons, or do you expect 10 wins again next season? Our elite voice of the day, presented by Sundance Mountain Resort. Adam Gibby on Twitter says, with Notre Dame, Arkansas, Oregon, Baylor, and Utah State, all top 25 teams last season, plus Boise State, Wyoming, Liberty, and East Carolina, who are all bowl eligible, anything above 8-4 in the regular season would be special.
Yeah, we don't call 8-4 season special, but I see what you mean. It'd be relatively special.
Yeah, did BYU may be better this upcoming year, but their schedule is tougher.
Yeah, I'd take 9-3 right now, man.
Today's Rise and Shout Out, presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics.
So apparently, Derek Stevenson had one of his rings, or his Cotton Bowl ring, stolen from his car. But the other day, someone DM'd him in Portland and said they found it and that they wanted to return it. They then returned it to him.
That is wild.
So that's pretty awesome because Derek was a part of one of the greatest BYU teams ever. They played in the only New Year's Day Bowl for BYU in 97 in the Cotton Bowl. Special season ring, and that's a cool story that he got it back.
The power of social media. Wild.
That's pretty cool. It was found in a gutter, by the way. What?
Our thanks to today's guests, Dax Milne and Maria Albiero.
Sorry to Dennis, no time.
For Jarom, I'm Spencer. Shout out to Jared Miller. Stay tuned for the Tuesday devotional on BYU TV, BYU Radio, featuring former BYU President Elder Jeffrey R. Holland, apostle for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Go Cougs!